Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sanya and today's topic of discussion is going to be about demystifying daddy issues for you. So tell me one thing, when you heard daddy issues for the first time or you saw it in the title, what is it that you thought about it? I'll tell you, most of us have got it wrong. Most of people, they label women very loosely in a very humiliating way, having daddy issues just because she probably wants to date older men, or if she is rebellious, or if she makes any outlandish choices in her relationships, or generally she is so loosely labeled as having daddy issues, while having daddy issues is actually so much more than that. And it's so upsetting when people don't know the meaning or the essence of a certain thing, and then they just misuse it or misunderstand it and then use it in the wrong context. And that's why I thought of doing this video for you guys, so you get a better understanding of what is this all about, and especially when this is such a sensitive issue. To get things straight, I think that this concept is so it's such a gender-based concept. Well, you don't really know the origination of this concept, but I feel that even men have these issues. Men have these issues too. And why just daddy issues? There can be mommy issues, there can be grandma issues, and can be uncle auntie issues. So much more than just this. And to say that someone has daddy issues is a somewhat very rude and humiliating way of alluding to a very understandable longing for a father who has been absent in your childhood. And when your relationship with your caregiver, be your mother or father, when it has been absent or it has been an unhealthy one, often leaves a void in us. There's always that void that remains. And I think it's a very primal thing, a very primal instinct to have a father who is strong, this wise, judicious, who's always fighting enemies for you, who's protective for you, and who's always by your side no matter what. In the adulthood, daddy issues can often manifest in terms of trust issues or fear of abandonment in women, and with men I think it's more of issues with identifying with their masculinity. I think that's what they face. Having unresolved trauma and issues in childhood can manifest also as lack of self-awareness in adulthood. Parents are the first people you make contact with on this planet when you're born, and if you're abandoned by them, the only people that you know, you are always looking for validation in the world, and you're looking for acceptance from your family and from people around you. Also, I think a lot of struggle with the boundaries is also what creeps in eventually. Issues can start to trouble the woman in adulthood, especially when she is still longing and craving the protection and safety that she was wanting from her father, and she did not get it. Somehow that lack would start to reflect in the relationships that she is having around her. And how a father treats her mother is also actually a very important thing that's going on around in a child's life. If the father treats the mother poorly, not only that influences the daughter's choices in partners, but it will also set a theme for what she tolerates and what she doesn't tolerate. That's because she sees the mother as her role model, and she sees that if the mother is always ignoring the abusive and the unkind behavior, she realizes or understands maybe that's how relationships are dealt with, and this is what it is done. And with men, as I had said, that they struggle with their identification of masculinity, in the sense from her father that this is what it is to be a man. If the father treats the mother poorly, then this is how the women are to be treated. Though not most of the men become predators or such abusive partners, but it does affect to an extent the choices that a man makes in his life. As kids, we are so immensely vulnerable, and we have our needs of safety, security, protection, nurturing. The world around us just seems so mysterious and just out of our imagination. And then we see our caregivers, our mother and father, such tall beings, strong built people who are taller than you, and you confide in them for all of these needs to be met. You hold them, you cling on to them when you're crossing roads, knowing that by doing that you're going to be safe. You hold them tight. You see them hustling, going to work, coming back from work, paying the bills, having control of their life. They seem to have solutions to all of your problems. You once, as a child, you would just climb on your father's shoulders, and he would help you, touch the roof of the ceiling. He once kicked a ball so high that you could barely see it. You look up to them, okay? And daddy issues is basically when your father or your caregiver, whoever it is, has been absent emotionally, or has been a bully, or has been abusive towards you. Maybe your father was emotionally absent. Maybe he made you feel inadequate about yourself. Maybe he made you feel unworthy of love. Maybe you thought to yourself that maybe you have done something so wrong that you deserve this. It's not the truth. You don't deserve this. If most of your relationships end up making you feel that it's more like a deja vu of the painful aspects of your childhood, then it's time to make some changes. For some, they will be attracted to men who resemble their father. For some, it would be attracting bosses who are bullies, like how your father has been. For some, it would manifest as fear of abandonment and trust issues. For some, it could feel like you're always looking for protection and security and safety in your relationships. For some, it's going to be hard to maintain personal boundaries. For some, your self-esteem is permanently damaged. For some, it was a problem when your father was not expressive about their love at all. This longing for a father figure can actually be very tricky. It can actually manifest in a very tricky behavioral patterns for the woman in terms to the male protection. We would secretly yearn for a man to step in that father role for us, who would take charge, who would fight the enemies, who would have solution to all our problems, who would protect us, who would accept us just the way we are, who would just fulfill this fantasy role of our father. And we would always want that void to be filled with such relationships. But you know what? We would soon get shattered and disheartened, because these so-called fantasy daddies will sooner or later disappoint us. They will shatter this fantasy of ours, because they will break our trust forever. Because one day we will realize that they cannot protect us every time. They cannot rescue us. There is nothing like a daddy that we were looking for in these relationships, because it's almost impossible for someone to do that all the time. You'll be hurt, and you'll see everything breaking apart right in front of you, because they are not perfect. These daddies who we thought were perfect in our life, they were flawed as hell. We thought of them being this perfect warrior who would help you, rescue you, but they just couldn't. Now that these daddies could not fulfill our needs and could not fight away the enemies and the predators, we may realize that they ended up being bullies themselves. We see the reality that maybe we were in our own fantasy world, and these daddies were actually taking advantage of you, of your vulnerabilities. They they played along very well. They were these rude bullies who were actually your abuser rather than your rescuer. These daddies will eventually deflate the idea of a perfect daddy figure that, of childhood that we have had in our minds. Keep a journal of all of your emotions. Understand what kind of expectations are you setting up with these relationships around you. Understand if you are lacking behind somewhere. It's okay to feel, first of all, the lack in your life, or emotionally, if you are, um, if you're not doing good emotionally, it's okay. But just make sure that you are aware of your emotions and decide what can you do to transmute uh, these emotions into something that can help you. If you resonate with any of these, issues, or the patterns that I spoke of, I highly recommend that you get in touch with a professional counselor or a therapist, or you speak to someone who is there, who you know that you're safe with, who can probably help you navigate through these emotions that you feel, these expectations that you set in your relationships. I also realize that as women, we would always have our guards very high. We'll have trust issues, we'll have fears of abandonment, but let me tell you, these emotions are actually guiding you for something bigger. There's a lot of work that you'll have to do, and you cannot escape that. Transmute all of this into something that will work with you and not against you, because after all, it has happened in the past and there's nothing that you can do to change it. One more important thing that I would want to tell you about, which is forgive him, forgive your father. Forgive your father for not knowing enough. Maybe there was certain baggages and certain stress and trauma that he was himself carrying through, back then, and he didn't know how to deal with it. Maybe that's the best that he could do at that point. Maybe he was so unaware that he did not know what gravity of damage that can cause. It's not easy. I know that it's not easy, but maybe we can try. Fresh every day, every time. It's going to be a journey. I wouldn't say that you forgive in just one go and then it's all done and said, but it's going to be a journey, every day, constant journey to forgive him and forgive for all the choices that he made. So that's it, guys, and do let me know in the comments box what you thought about this video, and I would love to hear from you guys. And please spread love, spread my word. I intend to help people who have gone through such issues, and to just let you guys know that you are not alone. I don't know who needs to hear this, but whoever needs it, I just hope it reaches in time. Thank you. Bye.